Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Serially unfunny comedian Eddie Izzard is having a go at J.K. Rowling over her stance on trans issues. Mainly, her stance is that she's completely supportive of people who are trans and wants them to lead good and fulfilling lives, and only asks that men who pretend to be women are not allowed entrance to places like crisis centres or DV centres, things like that, and certainly not into changing rooms where women may feel uncomfortable. And that's a fair stance. It's a stance that I think all right-minded people would have. We don't care how people lead their lives as long as they don't affect others or make others' lives uncomfortable or embarrassing. But because of her view, Izzard is wading in, and he opens his mouth and says something incredibly stupid. But then, that's the thing with these lefty progressives. They are generally very, very stupid people. He's saying that LGBTQ people have been around since we were cave people. I don't know what cave people are. Does he mean cavemen? And even then, we must have, he must be corrected on this, because we, the human race, were never cave people. We may have gone into caves. We may have painted on the walls of caves. But we were never people who lived in caves. The man is a moron. Anyway, we'll have a look at what he's saying. It's only a quick video just to highlight this man's utter dim-wittedness. Here goes. So here he's saying, LGBTQ people have been around since we were cave people. Eddie, we were never cave people. You may have been a cave people, but the human race never were. Comic and Labour activist. Comic? Jesus, that word's doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence, isn't it? Comic and Labour activist Eddie Izzard swipes at J.K. Rowling for wading into a heated row over trans rights. I thought he was calling himself Suzy now, but even the Daily Mail seems to still insist upon calling him Eddie. Anyway, Suzy Eddie Izzard today, what a stupid man, took a swipe at Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling as she warned against wading into online disputes about transgender rights. The comic, I'm going to stop calling him a comic, the Labour activist and unfunny man cautioned that heated debates can get more and more extreme on social media. But Izzard hailed how we've just started getting the hang of discussing transgender issues, even though LGBTQ people have been there since we were cave people. First of all, like I say, we're never cave people. But also, they weren't LGBTQ. They were just people. We didn't put labels on people back in those days. They were just people. It's only subsequently that they have got these labels, because these people need to label themselves to show how special they are. And there was no such thing as the labels that they're applying to themselves. But then what do you expect from these people? They know nothing. They have got very little by way of brains. Anyway, the 61-year-old has previously spoken about his gender fluid identity and requests to be referred to with she or her pronouns. He can request. He has the right, of course, to request this. But I also, and you also, and everyone has also the right to ignore that request and to address him by his sex. And his sex is male. He is a man. Regardless of what he wants, he cannot change that. The desire to change does not fulfill the requirement, so he just cannot change. Anyway, he also recently announced that his full name was Suzy Eddie Izzard, to add in a name he has wanted to use since childhood. What a sad man to go through your life unhappy like that because you think that you need to be special and, oh, I was born in the wrong body. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You've just got mental illness that needed to be addressed when you were young, and I think your parents failed you. Speaking to LBC Radio this morning, Izzard said he must choose not to read negative comments made about him online and would just carry on. It came as he was quizzed about Rowling has become a semi-hate figure for some when it comes to transgender rights. Rowling is wonderful. She is saying what people want, and that is that if you want to dress in wear a dress and call yourself Suzy, that's absolutely fine. But what she doesn't want is a grown man, fully intact, standing in a woman's crisis centre or standing in a DV unit, making those vulnerable women feel insecure and anxious and threatened. And certainly you should not be putting men into prisons, into women's prisons, especially as most of the men that go into prisons who are trans are in there for sexual crimes. 60% of the men who identify as trans in prison are in there for sexual crimes. It's about 6% in Gen Pop amongst the male prison system. So you're 10 times more likely to be a predator if you're a trans. And there's no arguing with that. And they might not like the fact, but it just happens to be true. So you have to be very wary of these people, and be given the statistics, you must never take at face value what someone is just because, oh, I appear to be nice, I just want to be a lady. Given the figures, protect your children, protect your women, protect people around you from these people. Not saying they're all like that, but there's enough of them that it becomes statistically likely, put it that way. But anyway, Rowling has also frequently entered debates over transgender rights on social media, which has regularly sparked a backlash. But Izzard suggested this was often a way of escalating arguments. If you get into a debate and taking sides, people can say certain things to you, he said. And if you react, especially online, if you react to things, it can all get more and more extreme. And for that, I will say that he is right. People these warriors sit, and they go, no, but you must tolerate, you must be tolerant. And then if you're not tolerant, they absolutely hate you for it. And the irony is, those who call for understanding and tolerance and acceptance are usually the ones that will not tolerate or accept a view that is contrary to theirs. So all this tolerance and acceptance that they spout is bullshit. It is absolute bullshit. Anyway. It turns a discussion, he says, that turns into an argument, which turns into pure anger, which turns into a fight. Yes, fear turns to hate, and that is the word. That leads to the dark side, as Yoda used to say. But yeah, I mean, he is right on that. Online spats turn into far bigger things. But he's completely wrong in just about everything else. Cave people, for God's sake, Eddie, get a grip, man. Anyway, coming up and rounding off. Told you it was only a quick one. Eddie Izzard was, about 20 years ago, mildly amusing. But as he became more political, he switched and became even further to the left, to a point where he's sort of almost Marxist. But of course, if you're going to be very far left, you have to be rich. Most people can't afford to be extreme left unless they're very rich. But of course, he's a multimillionaire, so he can afford it. But I think that what happens is, not just people who are just a bit on the left or left thinking and, like that. Even for the vast sort of majority of just even say Labour voters, they have a sense of humour, they're funny, that's fine. But I think once you get to the extreme left, I think you become very joyless. You don't like the idea of other people enjoying themselves because it seems to you to be very unfair. How can you be happy while other people are sad? And it's just, the only way they can deal with it is to make everybody sad. And I think that's what's happened to Eddie Izzard. And certainly, if you go and see one of his shows, you'll come away feeling very sad. But he's pushing and pushing and pushing this. Now, to be honest, society is a state. If a man wants to wear a dress and wander the streets and call himself Suzy, that's absolutely fine. If all right, you'll laugh about it at first, but then after 10 minutes, you moved on. It's there. But when that same man wants to go into women's safe spaces, wants to go into women's changing rooms where women and children may be present so that he can undress, wants to compete against women in sports, wants to go into a woman's jail, even if he's convicted for a sex crime. You've got to draw the line. You've got to say, no, enough is enough. Society will tolerate you in society if you don't abuse the tolerance. And these people, like I say, they keep asking for tolerance, but they're very intolerant people. But, what's to do? I think the line must be drawn. And we are starting to draw the line. World Athletics is banning trans from competing and things like that. It is slowly turning around. Shops that previously went completely woke and said, no, we have unisex changing rooms, are now putting them back and saying, we have unisex changing rooms and we have women-only changing rooms. And that is, of course, how it should be. No one wants to take away your rights, but you must not take away the rights of other people. And I'll end it there. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you see and hear on the channel, please hit the subscribe button right now. Ring that bell for future notifications of output. Leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, just get on with your own lives, and goodbye.